Hey, hope you're all doing well. A little while ago, someone asked if I could try to replicate Hetfield's 92 San Diego tone in the Axe effects, and I just remembered that I did that. I just forgot to shoot the video. So dude, whoever you were, this one's for you. I hope you're still subscribed. And for anyone who is not currently subscribed, hit that button and follow along. Obviously, I'm using the Axe FX 3 today. To keep it fair, I'm using my ESP E2, which does not have the headset in there. This is the stock EMG set that came in it. I actually don't know what they are. I'll look it up and I'll pop it here for you. As you can see, I've decked this out. I've got some vinyl which I stuck on, and I've got a custom made little iron cross that I stuck on there to make it look like the Hetfield iron cross, kinda. But it looks pretty cool, right? I'm gonna use a Dunlop green Tortex 0.88. I don't know if that's exactly what Hetfield used at the time, but I know he used a green pick, and that's the only green pick that I'm aware of. Before I get into how I've done it and where I got my information from, let's hear some sounds. So all of my information came from this website, MetallicaGearHistory.com. It seems pretty legit. I don't know who this is, Silverwolf, and it's specifically the San Diego 1992 concert. It's definitely worth going through and having a read, especially if you're into your Metallica history. But this is what we're looking for, James Hetfield guitar rig. This is how it started, rig 1. Obviously, that is his actual rig. Then it tells you what goes into what runs into who. Cool little fact here, the Caution Hot sticker on Hammett's guitar actually came from a juice extractor. You can see it just there. I think that's pretty cool. I didn't know that. Whole heap of things here. You obviously got the JC120 for the clean sound, Rocktron switching system. Here's a picture of the cabinet. And here we get into rig number 2. Obviously the updated rig for the Black Album. Pretty spectacular. This is a cool little fact here. James Hetfield, when I play through a 80 wireless, I boost the gain on the wireless beyond what it's supposed to be. It's not very smooth, but gives an extra edge. It's not something you do, but that, of course, is how you get unique sounds. But I don't think I'd use that trick in the studio. And I wouldn't recommend doing that with an Axe FX as well. Obviously, you have your optimal input gains. You don't want to be clipping your input. It's going to sound bad. Although, try it, get a unique sound. This is pretty fantastic here. This is actually James Hetfield's head. Settings are written right there for you, so you can just copy and paste. Even the graphic EQ is visible, and the settings are here written down. One spicy little meatball that I had no idea about was the Morley Power Wah Boost. James ripped it apart and chucked it into a 1U rack. So this was apparently used on Hetfield's leads and melodies. He used it on solos like Nothing Else Matters. I'm going to assume his solo in Master of Puppets. Get a bit more input into the amp, more gain, more sustain, and a kind of cocked wah sound, which I always assumed he always used the neck pickup, but I also think he uses them in combination. The cocked wah sound with the neck pickup. There you go. So look, that's where I got all of my information from. That's what I'm going to be referencing, and that's how I got this tone, and I'm going to walk you through that tone right now. This is the signal chain. I've kept it pretty simple. You can see here I've got a gate at the beginning. I'm not using that today because in the studio here, it doesn't actually do anything. I don't actually need it. In a live situation, I would probably bring it in for the rhythm tone, maybe use a different gate on the lead or just get rid of it altogether for the lead. But those are the settings there on screen. I like to use the side chain just so it's listening to a very specific area and not so much everything. We'll jump ahead to the amp block. We're using the 2C++, which you'll see in that reference manual that this was the head that he was using at the time. The settings I've done more or less the same. I didn't just copy exactly. I didn't think they worked specifically how it was written. It's close enough though. Gain at 7, overdrive at 8, bass down at 2, no mid, treble at 5, presence at 3, master volume at 4, treble shift on, bright switch on. So that's the tone at its basic level. Then let's go to the ideal tab. What is the first thing you guys notice? The boost. It's off. Again, if you go back to this reference manual, have a look here at crunch 1 and crunch 2. What's the one thing that you don't see there that you see in most metal tones? A boost or an overdrive. Apparently, Hetfield didn't use one. He got all of his distortion and the tightness from the amp's design and a combination of different EQs. So we're not going to use an overdrive. With that said, I do like having a little bit of drive, but instead of using anything that's going to color the tone, I've chosen the neutral setting on the amp. So let's have a listen to both off and on. So look, for me, there's not a lot of gain. I kind of have to work to get the sound out of it, but apparently Hetfield has been known to say that he likes to have the guitar fight against him. So I guess that probably makes a bit of sense, but for me, that feels way better. Just having that little bit more gain and a little bit more push into the amp makes it easier for me to play because I don't like to work hard, ever. Moving over to the output EQ. This is more or less what was on that picture and what it says on that website. 80 up at 8, 240 at 10, nothing at 750, completely gone. Almost at the top there at 10, again at 2.2, and 6.6 is 7.12. I don't know why I chose that random number, but that's where it ended up. Obviously does a ton. The only other things that I've changed in the amp block itself is I've given myself a low cut coming in at 100, and at 1400 roughly is 1.5 boost to get a little bit of the pick attack, and obviously the cut there to cut the low end before it hits the amp. The dynamics, I like to give myself a little bit of compression on the output dynamics. 1, 22.7 and 5. That for me compresses it just enough without having to go and get a multi-band compressor and screw around with that. I mean, I could, but I don't think it really is that necessary. Now, the cabinet block. This is probably for me the trickiest part of all, picking the right cabinet. So I've got options. In channel A, I've gone with Dynacabs, not 2, but 3. So I've got the Marshall here with a ribbon. Those are the settings there on screen. The Marshall, the same one with the dynamic microphone, which I assume is some kind of 57. Those levels are unison, exactly the same. But to give it a bit more oomph, I brought in a recto slant, because if we reference this picture, there's a Mesa cab there and it is slanted ever so slightly. You can see that recesses back at the top there. So we chose the slant, and that's a ribbon microphone, get some oomph, and I've got that blended in at negative 4.95. That does exactly what I wanted it to. So if we listen to all of these cabs on their own, this is the ribbon microphone. So yeah, those 3 cabinets together on the Dynacabs I thought sounded really great. Channel B, I've got 2 rectos here, factory number 869 and factory number 867. This is a 121 and a 57 from Own Hammer. Look, it sounds pretty good too. And then on number 3 here, I've gone with 2 Marshalls, just to see how that goes. Look, they all sound pretty great, but I think that the Dynacabs sound, actually don't know. I do like the Messer ones, I think. I would choose either between A or B. These sound a little bit more clean. I don't know. What do you think? I'd love to hear your opinions. What do you think of the Dynacabs versus impulse responses? What's your preference? I don't know. Then the parametric EQ. So that you've heard it with it on, so let's hear it with it off. So as you can hear, I've got a bit more bass at 100. A little bit of a boost just to get more bass because we need more bass. There's a cut at 1200. So sort of higher mid region, I've pulled out a little bit more. And at 4000, I've boosted at 3 dB. That gets a little bit more brightness, a little bit more pick attack, helps it cut through the mix. And sounds good, sounds a bit brighter, less mid, more bass. Metallica. And at the end, for the reverb, I've just had a bit of ambience on, gives it a bit of something, makes it a bit more interesting to play, because without it, it's very dry. A bit of something, something. So that's the rhythm tone, but let's have a closer look at this Morley Wah Trick. I think I've got it dialed in pretty okay. Let's have a listen first. What do you think? Personally, I think it sounds way closer to the Hetfield lead tone than I've ever gotten before. Only thing I will say is the chorus and the delay. I mean, I like it, so I use it. I don't think he necessarily used any reverb, and he may have used a little bit of delay, but you know, that's entirely up to you. That's not what we're here for. I'm going to work backwards because, you know, save the trick till the end, right? I always like to do a bit of a boost with a filter block, level at 2, and this little boost here at 4K a bit further. Even though I had that on the parametric EQ, I'm doing more again to help that solo cut through even more. Didn't change anything in there. Cabinet's the same, amp's the same. I did decide to bring in a mid boost, drive it to, tone up a smidge, and the level there at 8.44 to give it a bit more gain so it's a bit easier and a bit nicer to play. And here it is, the magic, the trick. It's a Morley Wah, the Morley Wah. I've got the control here down at 1.02, so it's more or less almost all the way back. The drive I've pushed up to 8. I think I left those two the same, and I'm sure I changed this stuff. I don't remember what the stock settings are, but that's where I've ended up. And I did boost the level to 2. Maybe that was stock like that too. I don't remember, but that's the thing. And then the other trick, bit more of a mid boost here on the graphic EQ. 4.95, 6.03 is where I ended. I was roughly aiming for 5 and 6, and that's what I got. But it sounds pretty freaking good, I think. Now, I do have a few fractal presets available. Specifically, I have a James Hetfield preset pack. Now, if you've already bought that, I'm going to update that preset so that you can re-download it, and this new little wah trick is going to be in that preset for you. If you don't have that preset, for the record, that preset is not what I'm talking about today. That one has the 2C Plus and a diesel blended nicely together as Hetfield likes to use, and it includes a tone match in there as well. So there we go, that is the Hetfield tone from the 92 San Diego gig, or at least as close as I can get it. Thanks so much for watching, stay tuned, see you next time.